Hello, and welcome to Wizard's Court, a game where you'll create a team of magical creatures, such as wizards, who will battle a bunch of other teams in a game of magical basketball. So, here's how to play. First and foremost, each player is going to need their own deck of 10 unique cards, as well as a way to keep track of their own score. Once that's done, you can each individually shuffle your decks, and then draw 3 cards, and once you've done that, you can start the game. So how do we get started? Well, each round is split into 2 sort of phases. The first phase being each player taking 1 turn, and the second phase being the score check, where if any player has 10 more points than any other player, they win the game. Pretty simple. So how do turn works? Well, they're split into 4 distinct phases: recover, enlist, place, and cast, done in that specific order. To start with is recover, but there's nothing to recover from since it's the first round of the game. So we'll go ahead and skip over that for now. We'll get back to it later. The second step is enlist, where you can place any amount of cards from your deck face down onto your bench. So to start with, I'll go ahead and place down 3 cards, like so. Afterwards is place, where you'll shuffle any amount of cards from your bench, field, or hand back into your deck. And for each card you shuffled back in, you may play a card from your hand to your field. So I know that's a lot to take in, but essentially in order to play a card from your hand onto the field, you have to shuffle away a card from one of your other zones back into your deck. So to start with, for this example, I'll go ahead and shuffle away all 3 of these cards back into my deck. Shuffle, shuffle. And because I shuffled away 3 cards, I can play 3 cards from my hand face up onto my field. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll place all 3 of these guys onto the field. Next is the last step of the turn, casting. When you cast a card, it must A, be a card on your field, like so, and it must B, have cards on the bench equal to exactly its opportunity. So this red number in the top right corner, this is their opportunity. So Greg here has an opportunity of 0, meaning that you can only cast Greg if there is exactly 0 cards on your bench, which is the case. So I'm going to go ahead and use Greg's ability, which if you take a look here, it says is very confused, does nothing. Unfortunate. So Greg, I'll use his ability and it does nothing. But all is not lost. For when you cast a card, because of all the magic it expends, it gets tired and tuckered out. So what does it do? It takes a rest on the bench. So you move it from the field face up onto the bench. And when you look at that, there's now 1 card on my bench. That's crazy. Guess what? I have an opportunity 1 cost card in my field. So I'm going to go ahead and cast Horin, Sorcerer of Kings. Let's see what they do. If a card on your bench is face up, gain 2 points. Well, I have a card on my bench and it's face up, so I'm going to go ahead and cast Horin and gain 2 points. So I have my calculator here, and that is 2 points for me. Huzzah. And this, of course, expends all of his magical energy, and he goes down here onto my bench. Next up is Casa, Sky Warlock. Well, they have an opportunity of 2, and there just so happens to be 2 cards on my bench. So I'm going to go ahead and use their ability. Remove this card from the game and put the top 2 cards of my deck face up onto the field. So I'm going to go ahead and remove Casa from the game and place the top 2 cards of my deck onto the field. Now you'll notice that Carl here has an opportunity of 1. So since I have exactly 2 cards on my bench, I cannot use his ability. So he'll just be staying out here. But I do have 2 cards, which allows me to use Band with an opportunity of 2. So I'm going to go ahead and use Band, which allows me to gain 1 point. Wow, 4 of 3. Of course, all that magical energy makes my Band tuckered out. It goes face up onto my bench, and of course, I can't use Carl since they have an opportunity of 1. So that's it. Turn is over. Now, from here, let's say all the other people take their turns, and once the round is over, we go through the score check and no one wins. So we go again. Now it is the second round, and I'm going to take my second turn. So how does recover work? We skipped over it last time, but essentially the way recover works is all the face-up cards in your bench will be shuffled back into your deck, and then you'll draw cards equal to the amount you shuffled in. Now, if there were any face-down cards on your bench, you would just draw them instead of shuffling them away. So here are the 3 cards I got. Now, I'll go ahead and list 2 cards, and I will go ahead and place some cards. So I'll place place down Karadin and Cash. Of course, in order to place those two down, I have to shuffle 2 cards from any other location. So I'll go ahead and shuffle this random card that I got, as well as Sorin, Wizard of Thunder, and I'll shuffle them back into my deck. All right. And now I can cast. So I'm going to go ahead and cast Carl, Wizard of Fire. Since I have an opportunity of 1 and I have exactly 1 card on my bench, I'll place them there. What's their ability? Well, I get to search through my deck and I get to put up to 2 wizard cards from my deck face up onto the field. And then I have to shuffle my deck afterwards. So here they are. I am then going to use Garog with an opportunity of 2, Wizard of Swamps, and take the top card of my deck and put it into my hand. Then I'm going to use Cash, Wizard of Finance with opportunity 3. It says here, I gain 1 point for every card in my hand. That puts me from a measly 3 points to a wonderful 4. Let me bring this back here. And then I'm going to use Sorin, Wizard of Thunder. When I use his ability, I can use the ability of any face-up wizard card on my bench. I'll go ahead and use Garog, which allows me to draw another card. And Sorin uses their ability, so they're all out. And then Karadin, with opportunity 5, I get to use their ability. Let's read what it does. It says, shuffle this card into your deck instead of moving it onto my bench. And when I do, I get to put 2 face-up wizard cards from my bench onto the field. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Shuffle away, shuffle, shuffle. And I'm going to go ahead and put Cash and Sorin back out. Then I will use Cash, Wizard of Finance, gain 1 card for every card in my hand, which is now 2. So I get another +2. And then I'm going to use Sorin, Wizard of Thunder. Use the face-up ability of any wizard on my bench. So I'm going to go ahead and use Cash's ability, which again gives me 2 money. Heck yeah, baby. So that leaves me at 8 points. Now let's go through one more round. Let's say each other player takes their turn, and at the score check, no one has won yet. And now it is the 3rd round. So let's go through the steps one last time. First, we recover. So any face-up cards get shuffled back into my deck and I draw the same amount, so that's 4. And any face down cards on my bench just get drawn into my hand. Next, I can enlist any amount of cards from my deck onto my bench. Let's enlist 2, and then we can shuffle away for our place action. Let's shuffle 2, 3, 4, and then we will place down 4 cards onto our field. Shuffle these guys. And then I will go ahead and use Greg with opportunity cost 0. Does nothing. Corin, opportunity cost 1. If the card on my bench is face up, I gain 2 points. So that is an additional +2. Garog, which allows me to draw a card. And Cash, which allows me to gain 1 point for every card in my hand, which is 2, so +2, 12 points. You should probably be getting the gist of the game by now. So let's go into final scoring. Let's say at the end of the round, this is what the scores look like. Player 1 has 10 points, player 3 has -3, player 2 has 7, and player 4 has 2 points. So again, if you have 10 more points than any other player, you win the game. So player 1 has 13 more points than player 3, so they win the game. Player 2 has 10 more points than player 3, so they win the game. Player 4 has 2 points, which is 5 more than -3, so unfortunately they do not win the game. And player 3 with -3 points is of course the least amount of points, so they lose the game. Unfortunate for them. So that's how to play Wizard's Court. Now there are some extra terms you might want to know about. For example, potential. Potential is the face-up value of all of the opportunities on your bench and field. So for example, let's say your bench and field looks something like this. Your potential is the total opportunity of all of your face-up cards. So 5 + 1 is 6, 6 + 2 is 8, 11, and finally 13. So my potential for these guys is 13. When a card says that you need the highest potential, it's saying that if all of these cards, 13 is the highest or tied for highest compared to all other players, then it will activate successfully. For example, Burr here says if you have the highest potential as well as another elemental card on the field, you gain 2 points. Well, with these 2 cards on the field, I will have a total of 16 potential. And if that's higher than any other player or tied for highest, then when I use their ability, I get those 2 points. The next term you might want to know about is advantage. You have advantage when you have more cards on your field than any other player has on their field. So let's say another player has 3 cards on their field and it's your turn, you have 4 cards on yours, then you have the advantage. You are leading if you have the most amount of points. And when a card says to penalize a player, that just means to remove one of their points. And this can go negative. So there is a potential to get negative points in this game. If you get penalized by 3 points and you have 1 point, then you go down to -2. There are some other terms that aren't in the base set that you might want to know about in this video. So there is sunrise. If the sun card, let's say this is the sun card, if it's face up on your bench, then sunrise cards will activate their effect. So if it says sunrise, gain 1 point, then if you have the sun on your bench or any other player has the sun face up on their bench, then you will gain that 1 point. Moonfall, if the moon card is face up on specifically your bench, it doesn't matter if other players have it on their bench, if it's specifically on your bench, then the following will occur. So Moonfall, gain 1 point. If you have the moon specifically on your bench, and when you use it, you get 1 point. The hour is the current value of the Timekeeper, which is a 12-sided die. At the start of the game, it starts at 1, and at the end of each round, it increments up by 1. So if a card says if it is the 3rd hour or later, gain 1 point, then it must be the 3rd round or later. Of course, some cards can interact and change the hour on the Timekeeper. But yeah, that's pretty much everything about Wizard's Court. Get it today at glommygames.com. Thanks for watching.